This is Wise Papa Smurf, your host, here with Wise Papa Smurf, your host. I am doing a SOLA podcast today. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and we kind of had a breakdown with all the hosts because Valentine's Day hit on our recording day, and I had to go with my wife to, take her out to eat or whatever. We went to Chick-fil-A because we're classy people. By the way, Chick-fil-A, they really knock it out of the park on Valentine's Day. They put tablecloths on all the tables, like black and then like a red stripe. They give you a rose when you walk in the door and, free Hershey's Kisses. It's a very classy affair. So my wife and I took our kids and we went down there. And my wife, by the way, for background, I'm not just a cheap bastard. My wife and I have done fast food Valentine's Day for the last 8 years. So we go to a different fast food restaurant every single year, never going to the same one twice. And this year we picked Chick-fil-A, and actually they've been the best so far. So props to Chick-fil-A for kicking the shit out of Valentine's Day. But we brought the kids. They played in the play place. Lots of fun was had. Anyway, I figured I'd do a solo episode just to talk about some things that I thought would be interesting. I haven't really made any game plan. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass so that you guys get an episode this week, other than us trying to put it together and failing over the course of the whole weekend, because I'm not going to have a lot of time to be able to put it together after this, and that has always been a fail whenever we try to get all the hosts together. I haven't been on the podcast for a while because I've been busy lawyering. It turns out real life sucks sometimes. And so in the last 8 years of my practice as a lawyer, I've had probably 6 to 8 real hardcore researches that I've had to do, like have to write a brief, have to research a ton of cases, or have to, answer a very complex question. And in the last 2 months, I've picked up like 8 of those at the same time. So that's been a little rough. And I had a really hard time kind of balancing life and the podcast whenever all of my days were eaten up, staying late at the office, which is no fun for anybody. So I didn't want to stay all day at the office. My wife watches the kids at night because I'm working late, and then come home and record a podcast after that. Seemed like a shitty thing to do to her. So I just let the other hosts take the reins for a while. Then, of course, Astros told everybody I quit the podcast, which is ludicrous. But that's why you don't believe anything Astros says. Anywho, so no, here I am. Didn't quit the podcast. And we're here talking about whatever floats the boat. So all that said, some of the things that I wanted to talk about is, generally I wanted to say, thanks everybody. I've been reflecting a lot on the podcast lately and what it kind of means, and how it's grown, and how people still support us. And this is episode 224. We have done this for so many years, and it's just pretty awesome that everyone still cares. We are still getting new people into the Discord. We're still getting Patreon support. The podcast actually pays for itself. I was able to buy new mics for some of the guys and just sent off a couple $100 in mics. Right? We bought the Yeti mics like what I've got. I sent one to Brad because he's been here forever. And I sent one to Ponderous. And I'm going to send one to Zill whenever I get a little bit more breathing room with the Patreon stuff, just to improve the sound quality, because a lot of people have been complaining about that, and I want it to get better. Some of it is technical. Like, I think we're going to move away from Zencaster because it's been an audio editing nightmare. Like, what it's supposed to do and what it actually does is it actually just desyncs our audio. So it's supposed to record individual audio channels, and then we splice all those together to get like pure audio from each one of us. But instead, it's out of sync. So our audio editor has a hell of a time mixing it together, and he's just been ripping the audio from the stream instead because it's like really difficult to like braid all the streams together. And so if we just do it from the stream, it actually works, and he like doesn't have to like eat his whole weekend doing it. So the audio quality has been down a lot because of that. And there's just been technical difficulties as I've tried to get other people to host. So like first time hosting issues have always been a thing, and get the levels sorted out. So he's working on them with that to kind of get an idea of where our levels are at. So I just want to give everybody a status update. For everybody who supports us by listening, thank you. It's awesome, and it truly means a lot to me. The people that support us financially, thank you. Without that, this podcast would not exist. Because I donate a ton of my time, and I could not justify donating my time and money to it. And you guys that help us go and help us keep the lights on, like the fans out there that actually support us, like it's amazing, right? So I don't want to like pull a full Travis Gafford and be like, click like and subscribe, support me, pay me, freelance. But it's more that I just appreciate you guys. So thank you. Enough said on that. And by the way, if you guys have something that, we've done tournaments and we've given away skins and stuff, and that's out of the Patreon pool. So if you guys have anything that you want us to do, I would love to look into doing something with some of the Patreon money that we've got beyond. The next thing I'm going to do is upgrade audio equipment all around. But after that, I really want to see if we can figure out something cool that we can do with this. So if you guys have ideas, please send it into the podcast. Last little bit of announcement is that we're going to try to do another listener call-in show. We haven't done one of those for a while. We were going to try to do it tonight, but that didn't work because I didn't show up on time, and Astros couldn't do it at 10, and it was just kind of a mess. So kind of scrap that idea for now, but we should do it next week. I still think that's something we should do, so we're going to do that. And yeah, so if you have any kind of listener questions you want to pop in on the show, we'll probably do it the way we used to, which is where we go into a locked room, and then I drag you into the room, you ask questions, we answer the questions, and then when you're done, we drop you out of the room, pull somebody else in, unmute, ask questions, go from there. And so that should be cool. If you have any questions, you want to be on the podcast to get your 15 minutes of fame in, well, whatever fame that our podcast has, you want to get that in, that would be cool and give you an opportunity to do that. So think of your questions, think of what you want to do, and we will get that done. Okay. So traditionally, when I do solo shows, we always end up talking about like non-meta supports that are awesome and whatever. I don't really have anything prepared for that right now, and they're all still the same as they were. I feel like we've talked a lot lately about the direction Riot's taking the game and why I don't like that, or why I do like some of those things. So I don't really want to beat that dead horse either, because it seems like the feedback we've got is that we're too negative on the game as it is right now. And while I will defend that point of view, that if things that I believe are happening are negative, I think I need to speak candidly and honestly about that, and I think it will end up skewing a little bit negative. But all in all, I don't hate League. I haven't quit League. I'm still playing League. But, you know, I do kind of wish that Riot would come around on some of the things and the directions that they're taking. And I don't really see a whole lot of indication that that's going to happen. So I'll put my head down and I'll weather through like I always do every season, and I'll hit my goals and I'll see what I can do, right? This season, I haven't decided whether I want to make this the season that I peak or not, because I've never honestly done that. I've never actually like tested my skill ceiling, right? And because I've just hit my, it's like, okay, I'm diamond, I can dick around the bottom of diamond, it's not very difficult, and I'll float there. And I've never figured out like what the limit of my skill actually is. I mean, I surmise that it's diamond 3 because I've gotten to my diamond 4 promos back when diamond 5 was a thing. I got to my diamond 4 promo. Well, now it wouldn't be diamond 3, it'd be higher because they spread out all of diamond with the other new tier or whatever. But I surmise that it would have been diamond 3, and maybe I could knock on the door of diamond 2, but probably not. There's some things I need to fix. And my play's actually gotten worse lately because I've been playing down too much. And I think that, you know, that's kind of been a lot of my recent frustrations with League, has been change in direction in combination with just playing down too much. Like I've not been pushing myself competitively, and I'm the type of player that if I'm not doing something competitively, or if I'm not challenging myself in a game I've already played 10,000 times, that it just feels like a waste of my time. And I don't want to feel like that about playing with the community. So I think the answer to that is going to be, I need to start playing just competitive for myself for a while. And I mean, I'll stream, I'll do stuff like that so you guys can watch and join in on that. And I hope that'll be entertaining for everybody. I hope it'll be fun. And I'll try to be a lot more fun. By the way, I set up an emote in the Twitch. So if you type LOLA Po logo, and LOLA Po is in lowercase and logo is in full caps, because that's the way they make you do emotes. It's weird. So you have to type in Lola Po because it's the first like 6 letters of Lola podcast, and then full caps logo, and it puts the Lola logo right there in the chat. So you might check that out when we're streaming. Drop a Lola Po logo, that'd be cool. And you know, I think that'll be fun because Ponderous is doing a thing where he's playing to diamond. I can do a thing where I play to I mean, Ponderous playing to diamond in like every role is what he's going for. I'm not going to be that ambitious. I'll just play and we'll see where I end up. Right now, I'm like 2 games into my placements. I'm 0-2 and I'm plat 4. So we'll see where I end up after placements. I imagine somewhere in plat. Well, I can't go any lower than plat 4, so there's that. Yeah, I'm gonna like probably grind out a little bit, see if I can get it back, see if that'll be entertaining for you guys, and hopefully that'll reset some of my mental on League. I recently got into Magic the Gathering. I've never played it before, and so I was thinking maybe I'll just play some like Magic Arena if you guys are into that, and I might stream some of that too. So even though that's not necessarily League related, and I'm not starting like a Magic the Gathering podcast, I don't know anything about it, so that would be the world's worst podcast. But I might play a little bit. If you guys are interested, watch the stream, help me out, learn the game or whatever, because I'm not good at it. I'm still learning kind of what everything does and how like the sequencing and the stacking and shit works. So, but hopefully we're going to do that. And that's kind of what my plans are for the next several months, right? And obviously the podcast will continue to go on, and we'll keep doing that too. So I got some feedback recently from the community that they really enjoyed the episode with me, Brad, and Ponderous, which it's a killer lineup. I was like, okay, well, I'll try to do some more with me, Brad, and Ponderous, or me, Brad, and Zill, or me, Ponderous, and Zill, or whoever you guys want to be on the podcast. So we'll try to get those groups together and like make it more fun for everybody. So, okay, let's talk about League. I was talking to somebody tonight, and they were, I don't know, somewhere in bronze, like not iron, but bronze. And they told me like a lot of things about how they feel about League. And it wasn't like your standard, like, I wish I was better, but my teammates, it was more like genuine critique of the silver tier and the bronze tier and like what people are doing wrong and what the problems are. And I want to take a moment to tell you, if you're a silver player, that you're not crazy. These things actually do happen in silver. And to a certain degree, it's its own world. And the sense of randomness about whether or not you win a game is much, much, much higher in bronze and silver, because people just do whatever all the time. Like, there's no closing out games, there's no like putting a lot of thought into what your next move is going to be, there's no macro play. It's just like chaos and fighting, and then one side wins. And I've noticed that because I've played with Rachel, one of the members of the community asked me to play with her and like teach her while we play, and I've been playing on my Smurf account. My Smurf account, by the way, lowest possible placement is in bronze 2, so that's been fun. So yeah, I've just been doing that and kind of getting a feel for what bronze and silver is like again. Because I play with silver players, but when I'm diamond and I play with silvers, it's really me playing with silvers in like a gold level game. And so that's been kind of a strange experience. And it's reminded me a lot, because this is like true bronze. This is like true bronze. Because I am bronze and they are silver, so this is where I'm getting placed. And it is kind of eye-opening for what it was like. Because like a lot of people are like, you don't remember what silver's like, you don't remember what bronze is like. And well, yeah, I do, because I've done it. I've played there myself, like back in the day. And I play down all the time with like bronze players and whatever. But the problem is I'm playing on my main, so it's still kind of adjusted upwards. But whenever I play as bronze in silver, things are just a little bit more bonkers. And I don't mean that like it comes off. I mean that like it's chaotic. Like there's chaos. And the chaos determines the game probably 30% of the time. So normally there's a 30-40-30 rule, which is 30% of the games you can't win, 30% of the games you can't lose, and 40% of the games you affect with your skill. Right? Like whether or not you play well will help determine the outcome of the game. In that level of game, it's like not 30-40-30 at all. It's like a whole new thing that I hadn't even thought of. So it's like 30, 20, 20, 30. 30% you can't lose, 30% you can't win, and 20% you determine by your skill, and then 20% flip a coin. Right? Like, it's just random. 20% random. And you're not crazy, silver players. That's fucking true. But that is also not the reason you're not climbing out of silver. because a coin flip win or loss is a 50% win rate. So in the games that you affect, 1 out of 5 games is still going to tick to your favor if you're playing better than you should, right? So if you are having a difficult and impossible time climbing out of silver because of that randomness feeling, you're just not playing well enough. And I mean, I don't mean that to be a slam, because it's not. It takes more games to get out at those lower elos, particularly if you are at or near your elo, because the margin of games you will win in that 20% may be like, let's say I play 10 or 20 games in that 20%, right? If I'm at or near my skill level, I'm expected to win like half of those games, and maybe I can push it to like 12 or 13, right? Well, when that 12 or 13 is 40% of my games, I climb higher. But remember, there's 20% random, so instead it's like 20% of my games, and then my margin gets tighter and my climb gets more gradual, and it feels more random because those 30% can't wins and can't loses make up the majority of my games. And my skill doesn't weigh in but 1 in 5 games. And so it feels terrible. It just feels real bad to be put in there, because it's like, well, god damn, I play the game all the time, but it's just rolling the dice. And that gets you frustrated. Frustration causes you to play bad. And you forget that it's literally just a grind, right? Like, don't fall into that mental trap, right? And, there are things that God knows I have said so many times. Like, take advantage of level 2. Like, take advantage of that power spike for sure. You need to play aggressive and control space. Like, these are things that just are not done at all, and everybody's they just flash through random periods of like being afraid and being aggressive, and it's more random, and it's just whether or not the opportunity is literally right in front of you and whether or not you are afraid to push your buttons, right? If I could give everybody one tip that will make them better at League in this elo, in this like a mindset thing, right? Because that's probably the thing that I coach the best is mindset. Play League of Legends like you played musical chairs in elementary, right? You guys remember the game musical chairs. There's 6 asses and 5 chairs, and music starts, and at the end of the music, whoever's ass is not in a chair is out, right? So you are circling those chairs like a wolf circling a downed gazelle, just waiting for your moment to fatally impact that chair as soon as humanly possible, right? Like, literally, you are on the balls of your feet, and if the music stops, you are in pounce mode all the time. Play League like that. Play League like you want it as bad as you wanted that chair in elementary. Because if you play with your finger on the trigger and you are ready for something to happen, and the second they come in my space, I'm going to be all on them, right? You will find that you will improve faster. Because you improve faster by fighting. You don't improve faster by passivity or by playing safe or by doing any of that stuff. None of that stuff actually makes you better at League. It is what refines you when you already hit your peak. Then you play safe. Then you learn. That's why the pros are always saying it, because they are to the point in the game where they need to dial back on their aggression to be more effective, because they already cranked it to 11. And if they've already cranked it to 11, the answer is to dial it back to 10. So, I see new players and they're like, yeah, I'm at a 4, and I need to play safe, so I better dial it back to a 2. And I'm like, you have 8 points of aggression unspent, and that's just missed opportunities. And you're not carrying the game, and that's why. Like, that's why, is because you're not taking the opportunities that are there because you don't see them. Right? So if you never see the opportunity or you let it pass, then that's not going to do very good when it comes time to to press an advantage, because you never developed it. You didn't seize the opportunities where you could create an advantage, and then you didn't push it because you were too scared to lose it, right? So I was in a coaching session, and I wanted to lay this out because this is a mentality thing that I think affects silver players to a disproportionate degree. And I laid it out in this, and I really liked the way I said it. And I thought, this would be really good for the podcast. And then I wasn't on the podcast for 4 or 5 weeks. So, whoops. Okay, so imagine that, the perfect game of League is like a blank canvas. It's unmarred. You have literal, anything could happen, and you see the picture for what it is, and the world is your oyster. It's wide, and it's open, and it's clean, right? And as you play, you judge what happens, right? And every time that you have a result, you learn something, and you say, and some of that information is wrong. So you say, oh, I tried this and it didn't work, so I need to not do that thing again. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't really matter. Let's say it's turret diving. Or you're like, oh man, I turret dived and it didn't work, so I need to not turret dive. Okay, so then you take a dot and you put it on the screen, right? And it just covers up a little bit of your vision. And that may not be a problem, right? Because the rest of your game's pretty clean. You can do whatever. Sounds good. Maybe you learn something. Maybe you don't turret dive again. Okay. Well, maybe the reason wasn't that your turret dive decision was bad, but your execution was. So if your execution is bad, then your problem is not, the decision not to turret dive isn't a good one. The decision should be, I need to turret dive better, right? So in basketball, in middle school, our coach tried to teach us you have to do layups with both hands. Like, you have to do a left-handed layup, you have to do a right-handed layup. Because, if you're driving the basket, it makes it harder to block if you use your outside hand to lay the ball up into the goal. And it should be easy to do because it's a close shot and you just need to practice it until you get it. I could not make a left-handed layup to save my fucking life. It was so hard, and it made me feel so uncoordinated to even try. And it was like an insane amount of practice before I felt comfortable lifting the ball up with my left hand. And then I did it, and then I could do it. After a while, you just go, okay, I've developed muscle memory. This is what that feels like. And now I feel comfortable doing it, and I will do it in a game setting. I got better. The problem is, in League, you don't have a basketball coach telling you you have to do a left-handed layup. So you try a left-handed layup on your own. It does not go well. It feels bad. It's awkward. And instead of practicing it over and over and over again, you put a dot on your screen and you say, I'm never going to do that again. Okay. So there's tons and tons and tons of things like, oh, I'm not going to fight in this situation because they have 4 people and we have 3, or I'm not going to try to do Baron here because we got wiped at Baron once, or I'm not going to take this dragon because blah, 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 blah. And the real reasons you failed, we didn't have all of our people here, we weren't there first, we didn't have vision control, we didn't zone out the enemy team. Those don't matter. You just think, I'm not going to take dragon unless it is safe. right? So now there's a big dragon shaped sticker on your screen. And eventually, you're going to have a hard time seeing what's going on that what used to be completely clear, completely like blank screen is now covered up with a whole bunch of don'ts. It's a bunch of don't stickers of varying sizes. One shaped like a tower, one shaped like a dragon, one shaped like a baron, one shaped like a number that says like don't 3v5, right? When sometimes some of that stuff is right. But when you create rules and you don't reevaluate them and then it becomes habits, you just lose effectiveness on it. It doesn't make you better at League. It limits your thinking and it limits your ability to see what's going on behind those stickers. You have covered up your screen. And eventually, you can only see little certain patches instead of the whole picture, right? You're limited. And a lot of the mentality, the reason I tell people, like, fight. Fight like crazy, fight until you die, escape with no health, push it to the limit, is because you will do that and you will surprise yourself with how much you succeed. You will not be surprised how much you fail, because you will expect to fail because you will think I'm being crazy with this advice. You should fail. You should fail a lot, because failure teaches you better than anything else. It teaches you where your limits are, not where the limits of the game are, right? So you need to expand those limits, not give up on the concept of doing it. And yeah, whenever there's a coaching video like several weeks ago, go back and watch that video because I draw it on the screen and you just see how the screen fills up with little dots and little whatevers until the screen eventually just gets full of shit and you can't see anything and you're like, damn, I have really hamstrung myself in how I viewed the game. And that is what I refer to as the plat ceiling, because it's the glass ceiling in platinum that keeps people from going platinum 2 to plat 1 to diamond. Like, that's the biggest thing that holds people back, is preconceived notions, habits that they've developed through just years of playing the game in silver and gold and plat and whatever, that, you know, they created this rule book that they feel like they need to live by, and it prevents them from seizing plays or making advantages even when they could, right? So if I could give that one piece of advice, it would be take your rule book, shred it, fight like a madman and like a drunken monk combined. Do that, and you will figure out where your limits are a hell of a lot faster than you will following whatever conceptual ideas that you've made up, right? Analyze every fight, every problem as if it were perfectly executed. And if it were perfectly executed, then would the result be any different? And if the answer is no, the result wouldn't be any different, then okay, it was a bad idea, right? Or maybe it was a great idea until this information came out and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's the point at which I should have known. And if I was overly invested, I should have just went hard in the paint because I knew I was going to die anyway. Maybe I'd take somebody with me, right? I love watching people play like that. It makes my absolute damn day when people push it to the limit. And that's how you get better. That's how you get better faster. Excuses suck at League of Legends because people, they make excuses about their elo, like about their division, like, oh, and my teammates won't do this, or, you know, I can't do this because of everything that everybody else does. And it's, you know, there are times in which those are true, but individual games don't matter in your climb. They just don't. You know, the climb is a marathon, and each step of a marathon, whether it be a stumble or anything else, doesn't matter in the course of the millions of steps that, or I guess it would be hundreds of thousands or something, or thousands of steps. I don't know. How many steps does it take to run a fucking marathon? That would be about, one step would be about a yard if you're jogging, I would think, because we have 3 feet strides. And, all right, I don't need to do the math on this shit. Anyway, each step doesn't matter. It's the end result that matters. It's getting there that matters. It's climbing the ladder that matters. And to do that, you have to put in work, you have to put in effort, and you have to try. And often I see people give up on those steps, and they feel like just because they're doing something that they should passively get better, right? And that's like saying, if I run in a 5-foot circle, I'm gonna get further. And it's like, no, because you didn't really travel any distance. Yes, you were running, but your beginning point and your end point were the same fucking point. So, no, you're not going to get any better. You have to get better with focus and direction. That's how you run distance. You run in the same direction for as long as you can, and you will make progress. If you don't try to make progress, you run in circles. And sure, you may get more fit. You know, yeah, you will. You will get more fit if you run in circles because your endurance will go up. But you'll be really good at running in a 5-foot circle because you never took direction and opportunity to make it any better, right? And I don't want that for anybody that's listening to the podcast. Like, I want people to get better. That's why we started doing this, is to help everyone try to climb and give them those kind of winning mentality tips to, you know, to getting it done, right? I have harped on the concept of presence so much, and, you know, just to define what it is I'm talking about, being physically near someone else, regardless of your cooldowns, may prevent them from being killed. Using your cooldowns in their defense, or staying in range enough to use cooldowns in their defense, may stop them from getting killed. These are things, just like you would move in on an enemy, you should move in to defend allies. And they may not get engaged on if you're there. But if you leave, then they are certain to get engaged on and probably will die. So, you know, be a good teammate. It's another thing that's like sadly lacking in lower elo league. It's like literally solo queue times 10. Like, it's not solo queue, I'm on a team of 5. Solo queue, you're on a team of 5. It's like a solo queue, we are 10 individual players, and we're each going to try to win the game without the rest of our team. So yeah, it's pretty chaotic, right? And yeah, people don't go for the stuff that they should go for. People don't end games when they shouldn't end games. But I will tell you, that doesn't get better. That doesn't change. Like, people's lack of synergy and thoughts on the game only get more polarized the more people feel entitled to their opinion. And the closer you get to Diamond, the more entitled people feel as to their opinion. So I wish I could tell you that that's going to change. It's just something you got to deal with, right? But that's not what's going to hold you back. Okay. So we've talked about a lot of that stuff. We've talked a little bit about presence. We've talked, you know, warding is great. We talk about that. But, you know, the basics are something that I think is lacking because they're not fun. It's not fun to train CSing. It's not fun to go into a bot game and just auto attack and move. It's not fun to, like, fucking CS a wave, then push as hard as you can, then freeze it, then push it, then freeze it, over and over and over again, right? But, like, nobody picks up the guitar and starts playing like fucking Slash day one, right? you got to start off with like, and then eventually it's like, because you practice that shit. And it was super boring to sit there and just smack on the guitar and make awkward sounding duck noises while you are trying to learn. But that's, you know, that's the part that has the payoff. You lift weights to get big muscles. You don't just look at weights and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I really understand how that bench press works. Wow, my chest is huge. That doesn't, that doesn't happen. You have to not only understand, but like throw in the sweat equity into it, right? Or else you just don't really get anywhere. And, passively, you're not going to get there. You're not going to hang out in a gym, not lift weights, not work out, and then be like John Sixpack. It's not going to happen. But anybody can look at that guy who has a six-pack, who is huge, and be like, yeah, I could do that. And you know what? You can't. But you have to. You actually have to try and make it happen. So, I hope this is motivational, and I hope it's not just like nobody feels like I'm picking on them or dogging on them. I'm trying to be a positive force for change. So you pick a direction and you do that. So how do I do that, right? How do I focus on getting better? Pick an activity that you know you're weak at and do it over and over and over again every single game until it becomes second nature. And then after it's just second nature and it's just what I do, then move on to something else and do it over and over and over again until it becomes second nature. Then go back to the thing you previously learned. So, for example, I was watching a longtime friend of the show and frequent guest, Painless Death, played support. And he was in a meta where the jungler would always come down and gank between 2:30 and 3:30 every single game. Like, that was just what you did in that meta. And he made the statement, I need to be better about warding. So for the next several games, I'm going to make it my mission to have that bush warded at 2:30 or 2:20, so I know when they're coming. And every game, that's exactly what he did. He would walk over the bush, he would make sure it's warded, and he'd be like, yes, did it. I watched him do that literally 15 games in a row, making all of those things happen over and over and over and over again. And that was his goal. Until he didn't have to say anything about it. He didn't have to think about it. It was literal muscle memory. And he devoted like zero brain power to making that happen. And it was literally all about self-improvement. Like, that's how he played to improve. And so I did the same thing. And I've done it, and I've done it, and I've done it, and I've done it. And then it became completely normal, and it wasn't even something I just felt, oh, it's about 2:30, I should put out this ward now. And it made me a lot better. Then I stopped focusing on what I was doing every game, and I stopped focusing on, like, making sure I had that ward down, and it took the backseat because I was doing something else, or I was focusing on something else, or I was just playing the game on autopilot and I didn't focus on anything, and I forgot to make that a priority. So now I need to go back and do that again. And that's one of the things that on my climb back up, I am going to have to focus on, because my warding has fallen to shit. My roaming has fallen to shit. All the things that I used to hard focus on to climb, I gave way to all those things to focus on laning for a while, laning pressure. But I was already good at laning pressure. I don't need to focus on something that is like a core thing of my gameplay, because it's going to be very difficult for me to make that any better. But it's more fun to do the things that you are best at. But why would you spend the time to, like, take your car through a car wash and make what you already do prettier when you could be putting a new engine in it? It's diminishing returns to work on things that you're already good at. You get a massive return by working on things that you suck at, but it feels terrible. And I know that. But, no pain, no gain. So, or what's the word that everybody's using now? Like train insane, or there will be no gain, or train insane or remain the same. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, you have to do stuff with a mindset of getting better. You will not autopilot your way into diamond or into plat or into, well, maybe plat, but probably not. Because, like, dude, I have friends that I started playing with that are still in silver and have played thousands of games. And it's because they don't play to get better. And if they don't play to get better, they don't get better. So if that's your goal, don't just say it's your goal. Do it. So, okay. With that said, I feel kind of like it. And then, one of the huge portions of that is watch the UNSW LOLA Society videos. We've been talking about those on and off for the past few weeks. They are jam-packed with good information that makes that a lot easier to digest. Like, it gives you things to work on and do and whatever. The other thing is, like, get coaching from somebody who's better than you and take what they have to say at face value and apply it. You'll get better, right? It will happen. So, if you toss your ego, because there's no room, like, you don't see those, like, kung fu movies where the guy, like, goes on the mountaintop to, like, train with the monks in the, like, hidden temple in the mountains, and then he shows up and the monks are like, clean the floor, and the guy's like, nah, I'm way too good for that, teach me how to punch. That's not how it works, right? You have to set the ego aside and follow what somebody who's better than you is trying to teach you, right? Or, like, humble yourself and then you can learn. So, yeah, there you have it. I hope that helps you guys kind of understand my philosophy, like how I train and how I want to improve. And I'm just as guilty at a lot of this stuff as anyone else is going to be. Like, I have been autopiloting and I've lost a lot of skill in the last, like, several months because I haven't been focused on improvement. I haven't been focused on doing the same things every game on time, making them routine, and then doing other things. I've just been doing what I can to, like, have fun. So that needs to not be my focus if I'm going to get any better, or if I'm going to make getting better a priority. So in the meantime, just to recap, we are going to have a Q&A episode probably next Thursday. Right into the show, what you want us to talk about, or be ready to be pulled into a room, and we'll try to answer all your stuff. We'll have a good time. It'll be great. And that'll be that. So, also, if there's something that you would like to ask, or you would like me to do one of these episodes on in specific that would help you get better, or, like, help make the climb out of silver or bump over the top, that's cool. And I will say, yeah, it can be harder to get out of silver than it is to get out of gold. But that just doubles down on there are things that you need to do first to make that happen. Like, there are things that you need to do to improve, and those things are more important in that point of improvement to get out of silver than they are at any other level. So, if your goal is to get that sweet end of season border, that's how you're going to do it. That's how it's done. And, if anybody feels like they need a coaching session or something like that, we can do that. You got to catch me online, not playing games, or just catch me when I get on, usually around 7, 8 o'clock, somewhere around that neighborhood, Central Time, and just ask, and I'll help you out. And then sometimes around noon on some days I'll be on, and I'll just help you out if I can. So, okay. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate everybody. thank you for listening. You guys have made this possible. You guys have brought this podcast to episode 224. Next episode is 225. Holy shit. That feels like an amazing landmark. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate all of you. If there's anything else that you want or need, let me know so I can try to make that happen. And we're going to try to get everybody streaming a lot more so you guys can interact with us a little bit more on the stream. Hop in the Discord. We're always on there. And, you know, we've had a lot of people join, and that's a great place for us to expand the community. So I hope you all enjoy it. And I appreciate you all, and thanks all for showing up. And I'll see you online. Good night, everybody!